What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're providing you a state of the market and stock picks for December 22nd, 2022. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as we do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this glorious markets. Now, some interesting information, not so much interesting. We've had FTX and we had Nike yesterday. They did well considering the circumstances that everything is essentially our expectations are in the dirt. We'll put it that simple. So things are beating expectations for the most part. But being said, single family homes, townhomes, condos, and co-ops plunged 7.7 to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 4.9 million in November, much worse than market forecasts of 4.2 million. So we've had extending home sales are continuing to fall, which is not good. Something I've been talking about. Now you're going to see that it really depends on where you live, but it's gradually starting to spread. It's not just in a lot of these trending areas. Again, you're essentially your frontline industry leaders are Nevada, California, and you go off of them and you kind of see what the trends that are occurring, and then that kind of bleeds into the rest of the housing sector. It is a slow process. We can see it coming. So nonetheless, we are still seeing that. And one thing I reiterated, we have to keep an eye on, because it could be a part of a bigger catalyst that is at hand. But with that said, everything else, as far as inflation is concerned, I'm just going to throw this out there that I do believe we could have hit peak. Again, I'm fully aware that it can change at any moment. But again, I think at this point, it's more so what the Fed's next move is. And that will kind of dictate how essentially the rest of 2023 will be. But also, with that being said, I think it's important to really learn and study as much as possible during this time. Kind of looks at some potential setups on some potential stocks you may be really interested in. Like for myself, I'm going to make this video a little bit different, only because we're kind of in a really dead lull period right now. We did get a little bit of action today. We get a little pop, but I'm really kind of watching that 3,900. If we make it up there to tomorrow, I think we're going to get rejected and then start hitting back down again, just into the intermediate till next week. And then at that point, we'll get in earnings mode at some point and then try to run up. How far? It's really not sure, but I've been selling off for quite a few days. So you could even say that it's just a relief bounce that we have now. Very much a possibility. But we're going to have to wait to see. We need a catalyst to really go any further down. We're going to need a catalyst to really get any kind of movement to the upside nonetheless. But the biggest thing is when you're in this market is to, I've always talked about, essentially not financial advice, but DCAing in companies that people know and have heard, that the average person on the street could tell you what they are and what they do. That is important because, again, there's a lot of, you need to be with a company that's going to outlast what is currently going on, whether you want to deem it a recession or not. And so a lot of these, you see me scrolling through this list almost every day. At one point, I was trading all these things. This list is even half, maybe even a third of what I used to have back when the market was pumping for 2 years. It was easy to just find the next thing that was consolidating, then that would turn and run. Now it's not so much that. Now it's more so I've shifted a lot of my my common traders around the top of my list. So I always talk about Tesla and Apple, Airbnb sometimes. These are always the big hitters I like to trade. And I don't really go too far down this list. I look through these lists. A lot of times I haven't really looked through the list aside from the industries, just to kind of see where they're at, that we go over every night. But there's a lot of them on here. I have energy stocks. I have Cat, Target, and Walmart. I use those as kind of gauges. I don't really trade them a lot. Then I have some, I do have some penny stocks on here. that I really like. But again, just kind of waiting for the cycle to come back through. So I'm not trading all these, even though this is my core list. These are stocks I've been through throughout the years that I've liked. I like the way they trade. It's not saying I do all the time, even though I have BA on here, and this is by far probably one of the worst that I have on here that I don't really enjoy. BA, because it's very erratic and a lot of the patterns just don't play out. But right now, it's been more of a safe haven than anything else because, I mean, they could do poorly and make really poor decisions, but the government's going to back them out either way, only because it builds planes. So you're always going to have that backup. So nonetheless, Boeing is not one of my favorites. So just just get a little bit more intimate with you guys and let you guys know what's up. But nonetheless, again, during times like this, it's good to just build out a list, maybe only start with 2 or 3, go from there, continue to trade those, and like even options, like I only been really trading options all year on SPX, and there's been some really great opportunities where coming around Powell time period where they try to adjust inflation, it just isn't or do they try to adjust for an event and they miscalculate, and you can take advantage of some really good option plays on that. That's what I look for. And so I've really been trading this. It's also you get I want to say not a tax credit, but you get tax privileges for trading SPX as well. So that's why I do trade this a lot. You can't trade it with shares, but you can trade it with options. So again, I don't suggest options for everybody, but for me, it's one of the very few things I've traded options in many of these other stocks that you see here. But again, this year I've really dwindled it down just to SPX, and then I've been playing equity shares with a lot of these other just stocks in general. But aside from that, I haven't really been messing with options too much outside from that. But so yeah, it's good to dwindle down the list, and then like the top half of my list, obviously you're gonna have futures, you're gonna have the VIX. You can check volatility. I don't really use the VIX too much. I really more so just gauge it off of an event, so I don't really have to look at the VIX because I knew something's about ready to happen anyway. Typically, if I know all the events that are occurring. And you have oil on here, you have wheat, right? You have some commodities on here, you have gold, I have bonds. Again, I don't really use that stuff too much, only more so because I think I think any event's going to override it. And again, patterns and stuff like that are something I've talked about a lot. Patterns won't always play out, especially this year has really proven that. But nonetheless, I was trading all these at one point. And again, shares, SQQQ, it's great for shares, right? If you want to trade shares to the downside. So if the market starts selling off, SQQQ would be what you'd use to trade to the downside. The stock will go up as the market sells off. So that's always an option as well. But nonetheless, I'm just kind of getting back into everything tomorrow. Again, Bitcoin, again, still holding. Dollar still holding. Again, not expecting a lot. Yeah, we do get PCE on Friday. We do get some unemployment numbers tomorrow too. But again, I don't really know how much weight. You might get a move in the morning like we did today, and then that'll pretty much be it. It's kind of what I'm thinking, but we'll have to see. Tesla absolutely just getting destroyed still. Nothing's changed there from yesterday. But a nice thing is it's holding the 137. Hopefully, if it continues to hold that, I think this is eventually going to pop. It's just trying to wait and be patient till it does. But we'll see how low, because this thing can go pretty low. It can drop all the way down to 110. Very much a possibility. Again, if the black swan happens in the general market consensus, Tesla's just going to go down with it. So at this point, Tesla is just extremely weak. And again, I think a lot of people are losing faith in Elon, and that's why, not so much the company, but more so just trust in Elon, and his erratic behavior really hasn't helped. So nonetheless, that's kind of where it is with Tesla, but I do believe this will bounce back. Once it does bounce back, it's really going to rip. It's just being patient for that time. Apple Apple actually had a nice recovery bounce today. So we're kind of seeing that floor at 131. We'll see if that continues to hold. We still get a nice little pop up to the 141 before I think you get a hard rejection, and then we'll see where we land at that point. But it's kind of what we're looking at going into these earnings in another week. We're about 3 weeks out from that. So we'll see what happens there. Airbnb is another value play I do like a lot. I'm not a huge fan of the CEO, but I do like the business model. I think the business model speaks for itself and doesn't really need a good CEO. But being said, I really want to keep an eye on this one. I think this one is still a really good stock, roughly around the 89. Again, the CEO isn't great. If they could replace the CEO, that'd be awesome. But again, the business model in itself is fantastic. So, and then we'll look at the old BA. Again, it really hasn't changed much. You're starting to get momentum back to the upside. You're starting to see that swing in financials again. So this is kind of really what's keeping the market up and driving the market again. Value and financials are really kind of holding the market up at this point. JPM, as soon as we thought it broke back over and started pushing. So again, really depends on where we land. We don't want this thing making a newer low, so we don't want it dropping past the 128. That could be an issue. GS, again, break. Did a break, retest, and then break, maybe another retest and then drop. Could be very much a possibility. Goldman Sachs. Again, their earnings will be the first ones to report, so really get some insight there. Bank of America, not a whole lot going on there. It's pretty dead. So I'll take a look at Target. It is in a nice zone right now, 143. The problem is with Target is they just lost a lot of money essentially from employee theft, if you will. So 400 million is no joking matter, but nonetheless, we'll see if this thing can hold the 139. It'll be interesting to watch. I don't typically trade these, but value plays have really been doing well. Walmart obviously doing really well as well. Again, still very overextended. You want this thing a lot further down. If you could get it at 120, that'd be great. I don't think it will come that low again. Might be luckier to get it at 127 if it does come down. Cost. It's come down quite a bit. It would be great at the 419. I don't really think we're going to see that. Again, you got a lot of daily support. You're breaking and retesting. So a lot of the stuff is lining up almost for a dump. That's why it's good to have stocks in different industries, because then you can kind of see if everything starts looking the same, that means there's going to be a really big bad move coming typically. So and just be mindful of that when everything starts looking the same. That's very much a possibility that could happen there. But again, I don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to kind of give some brief insight into like building out a watch list, kind of why I have certain things on there. I think it's important. Again, there's not a lot really going on in the market right now. So it's good to kind of just get like tips on general stuff on trading markets and what to be looking for, what not to be looking for. Again, like I said, this list that I have here is probably a third of what I used to trade, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And at that point, it was very easy and you could trade everything, but now it's I think it's slowly getting there, but again, it's just, you have to wait and be patient and see what happens. So I think if you play the same ones and you're comfortable with certain ones, you don't have to chase runners. And I think that's the big misconception, is a lot of people chase runners all the time, and it's not, the profitable traders aren't the ones that trade runners every single time. Right, like they typically have a very structured and very boring. Your setup and process should be very boring, but very consistent, and that's what you're looking for. So, with that being said, and you made it this far, I hope the tips have helped. If they have, go ahead and leave a comment. If you got some extra tips you want to share with everybody, and then drop a thumbs up. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.